year.
Ed Fitzgerald says he's flattered to know that Republicans think he should run for another term as county executive.
One of the things that I think that makes me hopefully somewhat different is I believe that everybody in this audience, everybody listening to this, is looking for honesty in government. And I think that continuity was so important to where we started as a structure. We don't have the continuity, so at this point in time, I'm going to try and bring that leadership in place.
You've been for spending on some of the big ticket items in downtown Cleveland, the Convention Center Hotel, to name just a couple, the new county administration building. That's where you're on the same page really as Democrats in the county in regards to those projects. And I wonder, it's usually not the government spending on big projects Republican thing, it's usually the other way around. I wonder if you can explain how you jibe with them on this and how you justify those investments.
I'd like to say that they're on the same page as I am.
Okay. Fair enough.
When we looked at the county office building concept, let's just take that one for example. Only because I knew when we looked at Juergens' headquarter building, we looked at, let's face it, Lake County. We have offices in Chicago. We looked in Cook County. We looked all around the globe and decided we're going to plant our stake in Cuyahoga County. And I knew what it took to analyze that ultimately to fit a building and a program and a process into somebody else's building, it just doesn't work. So I actually was the advocate for putting it into the new building because we're a new county, we're a new government, we're a new attitude, and the only way you get the new programs to work, I believe, is to put them effectively into a new venue. And actually we heard our director of HR yesterday was asking for reconfirmation. Her very words were, the new building will actually change the morale and attitude as the people move into it. So yes, I was an advocate for that. The convention center, we are on the cusp of doing phenomenal things here in this county. We're at the risk, I believe, without leadership that's actually led in an executive role of going the wrong way. But the convention center was one of the key components to putting that together and making it happen. We have a medical community that is second to none in the world. So you link a convention center with the medical community, and now we are driving one of our three main components of Northeastern Ohio. There's two more, which I'll talk about later on. But the two main components, you've now linked a convention center, a reason to come to Cleveland. You now have a medical reason to come and see, because we have all of the medical devices being manufactured in here. And so, yes, I am in favor of both those. And I don't know that you asked about the hotel, but the reason the hotel, I'm in favor of that, is that completes the package, because now a convention has a reason to come here to have the convention hotel directly connected with our convention center, with our medical mart, and all those are all one big solution, I think, and you can see the excitement people are talking about. I think somebody was just referencing the fact that I think the New York Times had an article about Cleveland and its comeback. We used to be off the radar screen. I think we're now being thought of as in the top 15. We're going to be the top 5 in 8 years.
I would think that many of the Democrats who will be speaking next week would say the same thing about those projects, that they have the same passion for them and think that they're important, linking the convention center and the medical business, having the hotel, those types of things. So I wonder how you can distinguish yourself. What makes what you say about those things different than what they say, or what you'll do different than what they'll do?
I guess the one question I'd ask is next week, if you're in the audience, because I know you're the moderator next week, is there'll be 6 of them up here, and ask all of them, have they ever placed a convention in a convention center and a convention hotel? I can tell you that 3 years ago, when this was only on the drawing boards, I sat as the president of the Industrial Supply Association, the largest supply company in the entire world, making the cutting tools, the machine parts, all the things that make that together. And I asked our board of directors, Cleveland should be our next convention, following San Diego and New Orleans. After you get the chuckle and you get past that piece, which always takes place at any board, when you initially bring up a suggestion like that, you then tell them, have you seen our Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Have you been part of our new casino? Have you touched our theater district? Have you been part of that? So ask them next week whether they can actually say that they know what it takes to place a convention, all the pieces and parts, why the integration of all the things that we're talking about, all the back office, all the pieces of hospitality and hotel, and why a convention center hotel is critical because of the room blocks and all the other things that take place. So I would suggest that it does differentiate. They might be able to say they are a cheerleader for them. I've been a participant.
Beyond those particular issues, I'm really interested in finding out the difference between you and whoever the presumed Democratic candidate would be. So take us forward to after the election. If you were to win, how will the next 4 years be different than if a Democrat wins the county executive role?
I think that what you have to look at there is we've got as the CEO, it's your responsibility, and I refer to that because I think you are as the chief executive officer, you are the face for this county, and that's the face not only of the Republicans and the Democrats and the independents and those who choose not to vote. And you have to look at those 6 faces and this face and say, okay, who's sold something? Who's actually moved products? Who's moved ideas and objectives and goals? So I really think that I'm going to differentiate as far as an executive and a leader because of the fact that I bring that experience to the table. They will bring in years of public service as a representative or a senator or somebody else doing public service, but ask them whether they've actually had to make a budget, run an organization. We're talking about 6,000 employees. We're talking about $1.3 billion budget, and we're talking about so many moving parts, and the question is, have they ever touched those kind of moving parts on the other side?
Some of the things we've talked about are ideas that Ed Fitzgerald has been behind as well and has supported. What about some of Ed Fitzgerald's other ideas that he's laid out and that have been discussed by council as well? Will you continue the pre-K program, the universal pre-K program? Will you continue a college savings account idea that he has put forward? What ideas has he had that you'll continue, and which ones do you think shouldn't go forward?
Well, I think what you have to do is you have to look at what the transition is and what was the objective when those ideas perhaps were put forward, and what's the objective going forward with those same ideas. Let's just take the $100 scholarship, of which the county committed $2 million, of which $500,000 was just in the administration to set this up. And the first student that's going to utilize the benefit of this will be 13 years from now. Will I go back and say, okay, what's the objective here? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to encourage student participation, savings accounts? And I will ask the questions, is this the right tool? So I will not say that something was put in place is forever going to stay there just because of previous administration. I think that's the fault of all government, that once a program gets in place, it never can be questioned. Well, I think we should question everything. We should question every dollar because the people in this room and the people that are not in here but are listening to it or are going to see it, those are their tax dollars, and it's our job to spend them efficiently. So I want to ask those questions out there. I don't think that I should sit here and say this one should be excluded, this should be included, but could things like using our state already organized plan that we have for college education be a better tool perhaps for a student that's maybe a sophomore, junior, senior in high school to get them immediate use of that same $2 million? I don't know. Those are the kind of questions I think need to be asked. To sit here and say this is good, this is bad, I should exclude it, I think that's not being fair to the analysis.